the line between form and function just became razor thin. The Motorola Razr, only from the new Singular.
I still have people to this day that tell me, they remembered when it came out and what they were willing to give up to get a Razr. It was something that people just had to have. It really became kind of a cultural thing. It became something everyone saw. My name is Paul Pierce. At the time of the development of Razr, I was the design director for product design, focused on the development of the Razr product. At the time, you saw cell phones went into bags because they were thick and kind of unmanageable. This was one of the first ones we saw sliding into pockets, even skinny jeans and thin pockets.
Hi.
We got started in 2003, and a couple things happened and converged at that time. This chipset allowed us to get the circuit board and the battery into the same plane, so instantly we lopped off a big portion of the thickness of the overall device. For us, the inspiration was really around the idea of StarTech and this notion of 10 millimeters. We had created a prototype of a 10 millimeter clamp phone, and I think all of us reacted the same way when we saw it. It's like, oh man, this is pretty unbelievable, look at the breakthrough. At the end of the day, Razr, I believe, was ended up at 13.9 millimeters. It allowed for an emotional connection with users. It allowed for an experience that resonated and stayed with you. We hoped it would be something you would then take and share with a friend. And you see that primarily manifested in the keypad.
Hi, I'm Ken German, Senior Editor here at CNET.com. Today we're going to take a first look at the Motorola Razr V3C. And down here on the navigation keys, like the original Razr, they are flat with the surface of the phone and they almost resemble a touchpad.
What you're looking at is just some of the very early prototypes. And if you notice, like the design here, this is different than where the final design, you can tell by the cutout shape. This was one of the earliest prototypes. In the end, this was like the production keyboard that we ended up with. Just getting the silicon, in the gaps at the proper height, making that work. Getting the spun metal finish on the keypad was really difficult. I'd want it to be all pink, and I'd like to figure out how to make the keypad pink. This is a brass and nickel approach to a keypad. We didn't have the ability at the time to get the color into it, but as you can see on the prototype, we were looking at trying to understand how to get more of a unified color approach. When you used to text, you used to hit one key multiple times and you'd move around the keyboard. So the idea of holding something really thin and trying to manipulate the keyboard to make that work wasn't as easy to do as when we added the volume of the chin. It enabled you to hold on to it. That was one of the things I think we like to share is from design, we were dead set against the chin, but it became really well understood as this was fundamentally better for the user. And in the end, it became a very iconic element of the design. It was intended to be a relatively low volume, high priced product, so we thought that might limit somewhat of the audience that it would get to. But once it hit, once we saw the reaction, it became something that people had to have. None of us probably understood exactly how iconic it was going to be. If you look at kind of the progression and the timeline, this is really first generation. This is maybe 1.25. Again, it came out relatively close at the time of launch, but again, camera variation. This, we started to extend some software functions. We started to extend a few of the things with CMF. We made variations. And then this is what we had called Razr 2 at the time.
Hey there, Rich Samiro with CNET.com at the Motorola Mobile Experience in New York City, where they've announced the successor to the Razr 2. First off, you have a bright 2-inch screen on the outside.
Personally believe we spent a little too much time riding the Razr. It was something that we started to do too many refreshes. We started to do things. I felt like we held on to it a little too long. When people ask me about it, and I don't typically tell people I was a part of that. My mother likes to tell people I was a part of that team. Instantly, people share their memories of Razr. The first time they saw it, the fact that they had one, they had multiple ones. And that honestly makes me feel good that it was something that still stands out. People remember it, talk about it. I think people are kind of yearning for and remembering back to that Razr when it flipped open and the sound of that, the feel of that. Where is that today? And it seems like an opportunity.